Chief Engineer Velkaris of the Zephyrian Technical Corps had been designing starships for over 3 centuries. His quantum crystalline intellect was considered one of the finest engineering minds in the galaxy, capable of calculations that would overwhelm most biological brains. So when the Galactic Engineering Council announced that humanity would be contributing to the construction of the new Deep Space Research Station Omega-7, his response was predictably dismissive. "Humans," he had said to his assistant, his 4 arms gesticulating with obvious disdain. "A species that only achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. What could they possibly contribute to a project of this magnitude?" The research station was intended to be the crown jewel of galactic cooperation, a massive structure capable of housing 10,000 beings from across 17 different species, equipped with the most advanced laboratories and research facilities ever constructed. The engineering challenges were staggering. Power systems that could operate for centuries without maintenance, life support systems compatible with radically different biological requirements, and gravitational controls that could simulate the home environments of dozens of worlds simultaneously. Velkaris had spent months designing what he considered the perfect solution, a marvel of Zephyrian engineering that would demonstrate the superiority of his species' technological prowess. Crystalline matrices for power distribution, quantum processors for environmental control, and elegant gravitational field generators that were works of art as much as functional systems. The human contribution, when it arrived, looked like junk. "This is their proposal?" Velkaris asked incredulously, reviewing the specifications submitted by Chief Engineer Sarah Chen of Earth's Stellar Engineering Division. "Combustion engines? Physical moving parts? Are they planning to build this station out of scrap metal?" The Altarian project coordinator, Dr. Thex Mole, shared his confusion. The human designs appear primitive. Their power systems rely on controlled nuclear fusion with physical coolant circulation. Their life support systems use mechanical air filtration. Even their computer systems utilize quantum processors embedded in what they call redundant physical matrices. Barbaric, Velkaris concluded. But perhaps this is an opportunity to educate them in proper engineering principles. The construction phase began 6 months later at the Kepler shipyards, the galaxy's most advanced construction facility. Velkaris supervised the installation of his elegant systems with pride, watching as crystalline power cores and quantum environmental processors were integrated into the station's framework. Everything proceeded exactly according to his calculations. The human section, by contrast, looked like an industrial nightmare. Massive pipes carrying coolant fluids, rotating mechanical systems that generated constant low-level vibrations, and banks of physical computers that seemed absurdly oversized compared to the elegant quantum systems used by civilized species. "It's aesthetically offensive," Velkaris complained to anyone who would listen. "How did such a primitive species even achieve space travel?" Sarah Chen, the human chief engineer, just smiled whenever she heard such comments. "Different approaches to the same problems," she would say diplomatically. "We'll see how they work out." The test came 18 months later, when Station Omega-7 was nearly complete. The Kepler shipyards were struck by a solar storm of unprecedented magnitude, a quantum cascade failure that sent energy pulses racing through subspace at levels that overloaded shielding systems across the entire facility. Velkaris watched in horror as his beautiful crystalline systems began to fail. The quantum processors couldn't handle the energy fluctuations. The elegant gravitational field generators destabilized, as their control matrices were overwhelmed. Within minutes, critical systems throughout the station were going offline. "We need to evacuate," he announced to the construction crew. "The cascading failures will make the station uninhabitable within hours." But Sarah Chen was running in the opposite direction, toward the human section of the station. "Chun!" Velkaris called through the communication system. "What are you doing?" Those systems are failing too. Actually, came her voice over the intercom, accompanied by the sound of heavy machinery in motion. They're not. The mechanical systems are unaffected by quantum interference. We're switching the entire station to manual override. What happened next would be studied in engineering schools across the galaxy for generations. While the elegant alien systems crashed and burned around them, the crude human mechanical systems kept functioning. The physical coolant pumps continued circulating despite the quantum storm. The mechanical air filtration systems maintained atmospheric integrity. The redundant computer systems, protected by physical shielding that alien engineers had mocked as primitive, continued processing data and maintaining station operations. But the real miracle wasn't just that the human system survived, it was what Sarah Chin did with them. Working with her team of human engineers, she began manually rerouting power through the physical distribution networks, bypassing the failed quantum systems entirely. She reconfigured the mechanical life support systems to handle atmospheric requirements for all 17 species aboard the station. She even managed to restore partial gravitational control using backup mechanical gyroscopes that the aliens hadn't even realized were part of the human design. How? Velkaris demanded, staring at the status displays that showed station operations returning to normal. How are you maintaining systems for 17 different environmental requirements with such primitive technology? Sarah's voice came through the intercom, slightly breathless from exertion. Engineering isn't about elegance, Velkaris. It's about reliability. Your quantum systems are beautiful when they work, but they're fragile. Our mechanical systems are ugly, but they're robust. She paused, and Velkaris could hear the sound of her teams working frantically in the background. Besides, she continued, you designed your systems to work perfectly under perfect conditions. We designed ours to work adequately under any conditions. When you're from a DeathWorld, you learn that perfect conditions don't exist. 3 days later, when the quantum storm finally subsided and the alien systems came back online, Velkaris found himself looking at the human engineering section with new eyes. What he had dismissed as primitive was actually something far more sophisticated, technology designed not for optimal performance, but for survival. Your redundant systems, he said to Sarah as they reviewed the incident reports. They weren't backup systems at all, were they? Sarah smiled. On Earth, we have a saying, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. If a system can fail, it will fail, usually at the worst possible moment. So we build systems that can fail multiple times and still keep working. Velkaris looked at the status displays showing the station operating flawlessly under human control. You didn't just build backup systems. You built a completely independent infrastructure. We built it to last, Sarah corrected. Your crystalline systems will probably outlive us all under normal conditions. But normal conditions are rare in space. Out here, you need engineering that assumes everything will go wrong. From that day forward, galactic engineering protocols required human-style redundancy systems on all critical space installations. The regulation was officially titled Enhanced Reliability Standards, but every engineer in the galaxy knew what it really meant. It was the acknowledgement that sometimes the most advanced engineering solution was the one that worked when everything else failed. And after watching human engineers save 10,000 lives with nothing but mechanical pumps and determination, Velkaris had to admit that maybe primitive wasn't such a bad thing after all.